Joining us now, she's in her fourth season as head coach at Marshall. Of course, former great player, and of course at UNC. You know her very well. Back on the show, Megan Smith-Lyon joins us here on In the Circle. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me, Eric.
Well, you all been in the news recently. Big news for the school, Marshall, and of course recently we find out you'll be moving into the Sun Belt Conference in the future, probably in a couple seasons. Kind of your reaction as this kind of developed, and your reaction now to where you're going to be a member of the Sun Belt here in a couple years.
Yeah, when all of this started, we kind of had an idea that we were going to end up somewhere different than Conference USA, and we were just kind of checking Twitter every single hour, every single day, just trying to figure out what we were going to be doing. And I mean, everyone here at Marshall is just really, really excited to move to the Sun Belt. Selfishly speaking about just softball, what an awesome softball conference, and the additions. Them adding James Madison as well. I mean, that's huge. That makes the Sun Belt one of to me, the premier non-Power 5 conference for softball. And it's exciting to be a part of that. And for our whole university and athletic department, everyone's excited about, competing in the Sun Belt and having some good regional rivalries that, you kind of miss in Conference USA. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's significant when all these press conferences that the Sun Belt has done. One of the things they have brought up is softball. That's been at the forefront, even in this type of deal. And you mentioned the Sun Belt. JMU is going to be joining you in that league as well. You got obviously the Cajuns at Louisiana. You got Texas State, South Alabama. You got Troy. It's the who's who here. Even Sharon Perkins now back in coaching at Georgia Southern for ACC ties, former coach at Georgia Tech. I mean, I don't know how much ties you have to any of the coaches or the teams in the Sun Belt, but you're right. This is arguably a top 5 league in the sport here moving forward potentially.
Absolutely. I mean, you named all of those big programs that have done traditionally well. You got some top 25 teams in the mix. You've got other teams that bounce in and out of the top 25. I mean, it was a 4-bid league last year, and they just added a World Series team with James Madison. And I think it's going to be a tough league. It's going to be an exciting league to compete in. I think Sharon Perkins is going to do a great job at Georgia Southern. She's a really, really, really gifted coach, and I know that she's going to do well. So it's exciting times for Marshall, and it's going to be an exciting future for the Sun Belt softball.
How does this move affect your program, if at all? Take us through what this means for your program here now. As you're still going to be in conferences. Saying we'll get to that because you're going to compete for trying to win that conference championship this year. We'll get into that. But what is this like for the program here over the next couple of years?
Well, I mean, for us, honestly, our recruiting won't change much. We're trying to recruit championship caliber players. We cast a wide net, and we'll look all over the country for players. So we're going to continue to bring in dynamic, super athletic players that can compete to win championships in the Sun Belt as well. So, it's not really going to change much there. I think our athletic department, it's definitely shifting its focus. We are going through an athletic director change. We're going through a president change, a conference change. There's lots of changes at Marshall. But I think, all for the better. I think we're going to end up, we've got an interim AD right now who's very progressive and is very forward thinking. We're already meeting with architects about upgrading our facility, upgrading other facilities. So I think that the change is really going to be in regards to the support we're getting and upgrading things and getting us prepared to compete in the Sun Belt.
You've coached in a lot of different leagues. You've coached in the Big 12. You've coached in the ACC. You've recruiting coached this. You've done it all. I mean, you've been accustomed to all these being in different leagues. Does that help you too in this transition that you're used to moving from a conference to another, whether it be your program or you're moving to a different job? Does that help you in this process as well? That it's not that big of a, from a standpoint of what to expect going from one league to another, going to, you're used to playing a certain amount of opponents. Now you're playing different opponents.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I've definitely have experience in lots of different conferences, Power 5 and mid-major conferences. And, for me, it's coaching is coaching, and training a team to win championships is the same no matter where you are. Just little tweaks, a little differences. I think we have a little bit of an advantage. Our assistant coach, Corey Line, was the head coach at Louisiana Monroe for 4 years. So he's very, very familiar with the Sun Belt. and competing in that league for 4 years and knows what it takes and knows, what we need to do. And there's some familiarity there too. And this sounds silly, but when you travel, knowing where to go and what to do and the comfortability of that. So we have someone on staff that's going to give us that. So we'll kind of jump in there and probably feel a little comfortable from the beginning because of that.
That's a great point. You're like a story. You like to create the storylines here. You've got a made to be a producer there. You're right with Coach Lyon there. Go back there with Coach Deb Monroe, knowing in the league. That's a fantastic point. In that standpoint, we just had Coach Laporte on recently. She said the biggest challenge or adjustment perhaps would be the scheduling from a travel standpoint, because you're going to maybe some places you're not used to going. Do you sense that too as a possibility that you may have to make some adjustments from a scheduling standpoint, not from a competition standpoint, but just from a travel standpoint?
Yeah, potentially. Like I said, we'll have some familiarity because of his experience going to those places multiple times. In Conference USA, our travel is crazy. We are going all over the place, and the potential of going to El Paso, Texas, for our conference. So and I don't know how they're going to make the division in the Sun Belt. I don't know what they're going to decide to do whenever this happens. But there's a potential that we could have a really nice Eastern division, where the travel is going to be a little bit easier. And like I said, create and bring back some of those regional rivalries that we don't really have in Conference USA. So we're really looking forward to hopefully that being what happens, where we can stay maybe a little more regional in our travel, at least in our division.
That's a great point. Yeah, Conference USA definitely has been some unique trust. So for you, it's probably not that big of an adjustment. It might be usually easier in your standpoint, because you're right. You've had in your situation, you've had some unique travels there. Let's talk about this fall. How has the fall gone for you here? It's good to have a fall, first of all, right? Like that's the big story. That's the big thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the COVID years were difficult. Last year was the most difficult year in my career, in our players' careers, probably everyone's career. It was just a hard year. And so it's really nice to come back and have more of a normal year, actually being able to have a fall. We were able to use our locker room and do team bonding activities, which we could not do last year. So this fall has been an absolute joy. I mean, for the tough struggle we went through last year, to be able to enjoy each other and enjoy spending time together and training together and playing other teams in the fall. I mean, it's been awesome. Our players have, really responded well. Us as a staff, we've enjoyed every minute of it. So we had a really good fall. A lot of what we did this fall was get back to becoming a really strong team and connecting. Something that we could not do. It was very hard to do last year because we were doing it over Zoom calls and in those types of scenarios. So, we spent a lot of time on that this fall, getting back to building those relationships. And it's just been so much fun.
Yeah, it was such a unique year. Yet you went 20-13, and yet I feel like it's like a what if type of year, right? Like it's kind of like you overcame some obstacles, but there was just too many obstacles. You were playing from catch up. So is it what do you take from that year? What do you take from that year that could help you and this team going into this year coming up?
Well, I think last year, we worked through a lot of adversity. So growing through that adversity, and we survived it. And here we are, we're back and we're ready to compete. So, I think we just need to get back to building those relationships and being a really strong team. Like I said, that was a tough thing to do last year. And it showed on the field. We were very inconsistent. We were inconsistent in when we played. We were supposed to open up and we got shut down for 2 weeks for COVID. We played half the games of everyone else in our conference. We had put ourselves in a hole, not our fault. COVID, kind of did that. And we were, to me, treading water and trying to dig out of that hole the whole time. We never could get in a rhythm. We rarely played 2 weekends in a row because we kept getting shut down. So I think for us, what we learned is, we've got to come together as a team. We've got to build those relationships because at the end of the day, we had a lot of talent last year, but all that adversity and the inability to really come together and gel as a team hurt us. And so that's been our focus. We're still working, we've still got that talent, but we're really, really focused in on being a cohesive team and working together. And our team chemistry is off the charts right now, and it's a lot of fun to be around.
Let's talk about your offense, because even in the shortened season, 296 average, 50 homers, 33 games, in 33 games only. Allie Harold, of course, once again, 415, 10 homers, 29 RBIs, all region player. Maya Stevenson, 293, 8 homers, 20 RBIs. Sage Pie, 395, 6 homers, 23. She was all region. Just talk about your offense overall. You still were able to click, and I would imagine you feel really good about it even this fall and going into 22. It's a lot of those returners and perhaps some of the newcomers.
Yeah, our offense has been our strength the last 3 seasons. And, that last season, even though it was a shortened season, we had some really good offensive performances. And, Maya, she didn't really get going until halfway through. She started off really, really struggling and then ended up, kicking into high gear. But, all of those 3 players that you mentioned are back. And we've got others that we've added that are going to add some pop to the lineup. And, our offense is dynamic and it's powerful, and it's going to continue to be. Our fall has been more the same. We're working a lot on, being more disciplined as hitters. We're working a lot on that part of it. But we're really excited about the players that we have in our lineup. And I think 1 through 9, we're going to be dangerous. And if you're a pitcher, you're not wanting to throw against the Thundering Herd this spring. I'm telling you that, because our offense is dynamic.
Yeah, you ranked in the top 30 in just about every national significant offensive category. You mentioned the returners there. Who are some of the new faces that will contribute to that offense that you think could step in and blend in with the vets?
Yeah, we have a transfer from Gardner Webb, Autumn Owen. She's a catcher, utility infielder. She's got a lot of power. She was really successful at Gardner Webb, and then suffered an injury and missed a year last year and then decided to transfer. So we're really excited about her. She had a really good fall, a lot of power, fits right into how we do things offensively. And she's a tough, gritty hitter too. So I think that she's going to add a ton to our lineup. We've got some freshmen that we brought in that we feel like can contribute as well. Riley Lucas, she's actually a local player from Huntington, West Virginia. She is a big lefty hitter. When we recruited these freshmen, we anticipated not having Sage Pie and Allie Harrell, Katie Adams, who's another really good returning hitter. Riley was projected to come in and step right in at first base and follow Allie. So now she gets to learn from Allie and gets to work alongside her, which is fun to watch, because Riley's a special hitter, lots of power, and I think she's really soaking everything in and really trying to grow. So I think she's going to be a big bat for us too. We have another freshman, Bub Faringa from Arizona. She's a pitcher, utility player, but a lefty hitter as well. She had a really good fall in both as a pitcher and a hitter, so I think that she's going to step in and contribute quite a bit too.
Is this the deepest roster you've had? I mean, it sounds like you got some competition within there and some depth that you're going to have probably some good hitters maybe that don't necessarily start every game, but are available as a weapon off the bench.
Yeah, we are very, very deep. And that's kind of what COVID has done, and we were super excited for these seniors to come back for their super senior COVID year, and then we have this great crop of freshmen, and even, some freshmen last year that have developed. KK Kenny has developed. She's a big power hitter from Texas, and she's doing really well too. So yeah, we're deep. We've got a lot of offensive threats. We've got a lot of people that can contribute, and our challenge as a coaching staff is to give them opportunities to contribute and make sure that we're giving them opportunities that they can grow and that they can continue to develop, because, we anticipated them stepping in and being starters. And now that we've got those super seniors back, it's created this great opportunity for them to learn from them. But we're going to have to work really hard as a staff to mix them in and make sure they're getting what they need and getting their chances to contribute, because they're all talented players.
Do you have a vocal leader right now? Has that already been established with the vocal leaders, maybe some of the returners, or is that kind of still evolving? What kind of leadership do you have? Do you have vocal leaders or leaders that kind of show by example?
I think we have a mix. I started something with the team this year. I started a leadership group where they actually got to nominate themselves, and we meet each week and we talk about leadership and growing as leaders. And we have quite a big group doing that. We have 10 of our players that decided to do that. And it's a mix of freshmen up to the super seniors. So we have a mix of that. I mean, some of our vocal players, Grace Chelman is a transfer from Michigan. She's a center fielder. She's a great player for us, starting, leading off for us. And she's a big vocal leader for us. Allie's more of a lead by example. more of a role model for people to follow and look to. Maya is kind of a leader by being a great teammate and being the life of our team. Sage is very vocal in regards to her leadership. We have some freshmen that have stepped up to be really, really vocal leaders. Brooklyn Ulrich is a freshman from Arizona. She's a shortstop, lefty hitter who's super talented, but she is one of those players that is vocal and pushes her teammates and has stepped up as a leader. So, I feel like leadership is something we maybe lacked a little bit last year because of the issues with COVID and not being able to connect and not being able to come together. And I think this year, so far, it's been a strength of ours. We have several people stepping up, different ages, different positions, and it's really fun to kind of see them step into that.
Let's talk about your pitching. Big acquisition, Sydney Nestor transfer coming over from NC State. You went by committee last year. Tell me about your staff, how it's looking with the addition of Nestor and others and some of the returners.
Yeah, last year we did pitch by committee. I feel like, we had potential as a pitching staff, but I believe they struggled a little bit. That was our weak spot last year, is not being able to stop people from scoring. And but there were glimpses. They showed glimpses, and they all grew last year and improved. And we were just super excited that Sydney decided to become a part of the herd. I mean, she's phenomenal. And we knew that. We knew, looking at her numbers at NC State and talking to people and talking to coaches in the ACC that played against her, we knew that she was going to be a special pitcher. But watching her in person and seeing her compete, man, we're ecstatic. I mean, it's what we need. We have a good pitching staff. Adding her makes our pitching staff a very good pitching staff. And now, we feel like we're going to have a real ace, a true ace in the circle. And I think, we had some people step up last year too. Kaylee Joyce stepped up. She's a transfer from LaSalle. She had some really, really good moments. And I think she has continued to grow. This summer worked really hard. She looked really strong this fall. So I think she's going to step in and be a big time pitcher for us too this year. And our pitching staff, they're all going to work together again, but I think adding Sydney is just kind of ups our game, definitely.
Is it important to have some defined roles in a pitching staff? It's one thing to have a lot of arms and some options, but is there something to be said to having defined roles? Because I've had coaches tell me that some pitchers feel more comfortable when they know what their role is instead of not knowing what their situation is on a daily basis because they feel uneasy or uncomfortable. I don't know if that's your strategy as a staff, but kind of talk about that. Is having somebody like Sydney who what she can do and fitting the puzzle there. Is that something where maybe by having her, she'll make others better because they will fit in their roles?
I think so. I think every pitching staff is different, and you have to kind of read your players and the dynamic of your players and how they're, how you can set them up for success. And I think that, with our current pitching staff and our pitching staff last year too, I think define roles that it's helpful for them, for this group. So I do think adding someone of Sydney's caliber helps define those roles a little bit more and helps people kind of get comfortable in that and thrive in those roles. So absolutely. I mean, I think it's going to be a huge plus, not just because of her talent and what she's going to bring to us, but how she's going to help the other pitchers kind of fit and thrive in where they fit.
Yeah, it should be fascinating there. Do you have a leader on that staff? Either vocally or either by example that steps in? Is that, or that's still evolving as they kind of gel together there?
I think that's still evolving. Sydney is definitely a leader. She's a leader in how she approaches things, in her mentality, in her working to connect with her teammates. I mean, she is definitely a leader in that sense. I think Ashley Blesson is a returner of ours who had a great freshman year, struggled a little bit last year. I think she's someone that's really working on stepping in and being a leader. And she's more of a leader by example. She's a worker. She's meticulous about her workouts. And, I think that it's still evolving, but I think we have a really good group of pitchers. They all have a good mindset. They're all working extremely hard. And as time progresses, I'm sure that someone will emerge more as a leader. But, I think Sydney and Ashley right now are kind of taking the reins in that respect.
We're speaking with Marshall head coach Megan Smith-Lyon here on In the Circle. I'm fascinated. We talked about this last time you were on and more in depth, but for some that might have missed this, you played for Coach Donna Papa, coached under her and played for her, as well as Beverly Smith, who was an assistant there. You're part of that big tree. You're like multiple trees there. Talk about those two in particular, because every year the coaching tree grows for both of them, and I don't think that's an accident. You know both of them well. You've worked with both of them. You've played for both of them. What is it about those two that it seems like that coaching tree grows every year, and it makes an immediate a big impact?
Yeah, well, those two are two of the finest people that you'll ever know. And I think that's why you see that, take the coaching part out of it. They're phenomenal people and they both invest in people. And I think that's, in terms of growing your coaching tree and, they invest in people. And, I had the honor of playing for Coach Papa. And she's been my mentor since I was 13 years old, so I've really, I respect her tremendously. I owe pretty much everything in my career to her and what she did for me as a young person. And she's just a phenomenal person who cares about people, cares about her players. She does things the right way. And obviously she knows softball, that's, that we all know that she knows the game. But in regards to how she treats people, how she invests in her players, and in her assistants and in her friends. I mean, she's wonderful. She's wonderful. And Bev is cut from that cloth too. I mean, Bev was recruited by Coach Papa, played for Coach Papa, coached with Coach Papa, and she actually coached me my senior year in college. Bev was the assistant coach. And she's another one of those that invests in people. She's one of those, she motivates people. She can push you. Bev did as a coach. But you always knew that she cared. And I know that that's what her players feel at South Carolina. And working with both of them, when I was on staff at North Carolina, it was Coach Papa as the head coach and Bev and myself as the assistant.
That's unbelievable.
So, yeah. So, I mean, that was a dream for me, a dream come true. I mean, the minute that Coach Papa offered me that job, didn't pay very much, but I'd have done it for free. Don't tell her that, but I would have. I'd have done that for
Careful
free.
there. Yeah, careful there.
Just to hang out and learn from Bev and Coach up close. But they're great people, and I owe a lot to both of them.
What'd you take from each of them that you've applied to your coaching style and your coaching philosophy there? I would imagine you picked up some things from both of them because they have their own differences that they do things a little differently, right?
Yep, absolutely. They're different. I think from Coach Papa, it was investing in people and caring about your players. The game and the wins, that's all going to come if you build relationships with players and show them that you care about them, and that there's softball and other things. I mean, I think that's important too. She was very supportive of me as a student, and she used to do a ton of fun things with us. My favorite story is we're stretching in the outfield and it's Halloween, and here she comes on a bike dressed as Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act, and she's riding in a bike around our field. So just that sounds so silly, but that's what I remember. I remember her trying to make things fun for us and becoming a part of our lives and not just our coach. So that's something that I took from her, is investing not just in making my players better on the field, but also in their lives and building relationships with them. I mean, that's Coach Papa to a T. And Bev, keeping things real, blunt. Bev is supportive and positive, but she will tell you the truth, and she will tell it very matter-of-factly, but in a kind way. And I think I took that too. You need to be honest with players. You need to build trust with them and gain their respect. And I think it's hard to do that when you're not honest. And she learning from her and watching her, she showed me how to be honest with players, but in a respectful and a very productive way, to where you're working with them to help them achieve their goal, but in real talk, and making sure that you're real with them. So two totally different types of people, but they worked so well together for so many years, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of that staff, even if it was just for a year.
It just blows me away because I've talked to a lot of coaches who tell me they still go to them for advice now. And I would imagine that's a big help to you too. I mean, last year, like I've mentioned, there's no textbook how you handle last couple years by anybody. But to have a support system like that, where you could go to someone there that you trust and they know you, that you're going to help you, is like, hey, they're going through similar things. Hey, what do you think about this? How are you dealing with this? Right? That had to help you get through really the last couple of years, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, those two are huge resources for me, and I lean on them quite a bit. And, it's fun too now because Coach Papa and will call me when she's having some questions and issues and bounces things off of me. So, which I kind of have to pinch myself sometimes because this is, when I was a little kid going to camp, this was my idol was Donna Papa, and just having those conversations and even helping her through some things. But absolutely, we're there for each other and support each other. And I know if I need anything, I can call either one of them and they'll answer and they'll do what they can to help.
Let's talk about Conference USA, which I think is a fascinating season ahead there, because you look at last year, Western Kentucky wins the conference tournament. UAB was one of the last four, first four out. They were right in the mix for the NCAA. So you were that close to being a multiple bid league, and that's in a unique kind of a, unique season. You got Ashley Chastain, who's part of the Bev tree there as well, obviously doing good things at Charlotte. Your program in the mix. Just talk about the overall landscape of CUSA. How are the conference schedules going to be this season? Are we back to normal? Are there some tweaks there? And just kind of your overall thoughts on the league.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a strong league this year. So that's super exciting. I think that looking at last year and, those teams that did well last year are better this year. And so I think you're going to see an even more competitive season in Conference USA. I think obviously North Texas is going to be strong, but UAB and Charlotte, I think, are two that are going to be really, really tough this season. So we're excited to compete and see where we stack up when we have a full season. Last year I felt like we were up and down, like I said, inconsistent, and played half the games that everybody else did. So it's going to be exciting to kind of be on a more level playing field this year and see how we compete in conference play. And scheduling wise, we're back to normal. We're back to playing our full division and then playing 3 crossover opponents in the other division. We are going to a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series now, so single games. So that's exciting. So yeah, we're excited. We're ready for this season for sure.
What led to that decision? I know other conferences have done that. Is it just to kind of protect pitchers' arms? I mean, just talk about that, that decision making from a coach's standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you look at how our game has progressed, it used to be double header heavy, lots of double headers, and that's how you kind of structure things. And we have progressed more into, doing a single game, and it's student athlete experience, I think, is a big part of it. A double header is a long day. It's a lot of stress on not just pitchers, but on everyone. Warm-ups take 2+ hours. And then you have your games that are taking 2.5 hours, and then you have a break, and then you have another 2.5 hour game. So, I think it's more student athlete experience, moving forward, progressing, looking at how postseason is set up, super regionals and those sorts of things. And, we want to mirror that. So we're all excited about the Friday, Saturday, Sunday change.
That's very big significant there, no doubt about that. I've talked to many coaches. They told me the thing that was hurt the most, or not hurt, but affected the most is probably a better word, wasn't the offense or pitching as far as the either shortened seasons or not having a normal fall or not having a fall at all. It wasn't offense or pitching. It was defense. They felt that's where everybody was behind. Did you sense that too as you evaluated back in last year, that defensively maybe you were maybe not where you wanted to be, maybe it was impacted by that?
Yeah, I think there's something. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement. I think the defense was a little behind. I think that we were limited in team practices and how we could get everybody together. And offense, you can work with hitters individually, and they can grow and they can be prepared to compete. Same thing goes with pitchers. You can work with pitchers individually, and they can grow and compete. And defense, that's tough. Yeah, you can make someone individually better, but to be a really good defensive team, you have to merge the individual improvement with the full team experience, because that's really the important part of the communication, the working together. The defense is, you're relying on each other so much. And the inability to get together and do a lot of that last year, I think made us struggle quite a bit. And I think that probably a lot of teams felt that too. So we've this fall we've done a lot of defensive work as a team since we've been able to come together more. And I think that's an area that we still need to improve. I think that's still an area where we're in a little bit of a deficit, but we're working hard to catch up.
The difference is you have time to do it, whereas you didn't have that option a year ago. Not a lot of programs did, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, we have been able to do this fall, everything full go. I mean, we haven't had to adjust much. I mean, we have to wear masks at times and, we have to do those things. But in regards to practice hours and being able to come together and being able to work as a full team, we've been able to do that the whole fall, which we've been taking advantage of for sure.
Couple last things. First, congrats. You outlasted the legendary basketball coach Roy Williams, which I don't know if you thought you would be able to do that, but he's obviously retired. Hubert Davis is the new head coach at UNC. I don't think you guys were in school together at the same time, were you? You probably
No,
no. Yeah,
I
you think
don't
you
think
missed each
so.
other. I think you
Yeah, I
both
don't
missed
think
each
so.
other. Yeah, I think he was a few years earlier. But you've been on that campus. You know that tradition there deal. What was your reaction when you heard that Roy Williams was kind of retiring?
Well, it made me sad. I mean, obviously he's a legend, and when he didn't want to leave Kansas to come to Carolina the first time, I was not happy about that, right?
Oh,
We
that's
wanted
right.
it back
Yeah.
home. We wanted it back home, and then finally came, and he's just a legend, and he's another one does things the right way, and is a great person and obviously a legendary coach. But I was excited that Hubert Davis got the job. I mean, obviously I believe Carolina Blues, so want to keep it in the family, and been a fan since I was a baby, so all these basketball players I'm huge fans of, and Hubert Davis is one of the best, and he's also a great person, and he's going to do a great job. I mean, their game the other night, they look better than they have in a while, and I'm excited about that, so just hoping. I hear that Duke's pretty good, and that makes me mad, so I'm hoping that I'm hoping they're not as good as what people are saying, because I can't stomach that. But
Yeah. I mean, that's just going to be Mike Krzyzewski's last year, So I mean, it's kind of basketball's kind of going through a little bit of a change in the guard, if you will, a little bit on that. But yeah, I knew Roy because you've known Roy for how long have you? When was the first time you met Roy?
gosh, the first time I actually met him wasn't until like about 4 or 5 years ago. So I came back.
Really?
Yeah, I was coaching at Kansas, came back and spent Christmas with my family in North Carolina. And my dad's a Carolina alum, my sister's a Carolina alum. And Coach Papa got us tickets for a basketball game. And she got us to be able to meet Roy and tour his office and meet Hubert Davis. And so that's the first time I actually officially met him. But when I got the job at Kansas, because he was a Tar Heel that coached at Kansas,
Yeah.
I shot him an email. Our one of our associate ADs at Kansas was still good friends with him, and I got his email address and shot him an email. And so we emailed back and forth a few times, but in terms of meeting him, just that one time. But it was awesome.
That's unbelievable. That's
Yeah,
pretty wild. At least you had an excuse to get an email, start an email
yeah,
conversation there. So that's a
yeah.
pretty
That's
good
right.
start. So I knew because yeah, that you have a unique connections with him from that standpoint.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Last thing, as you get set now to start to wrap up fall before you know it, season will get here. What are some of the keys, internal keys you got to see from your roster and your team here that'll be the key ingredients to all you accomplishing your eternal goals?
So we've got to keep our leadership strong. I think that we've got a talented team. It's a scary talented team, specifically offensively. But we've got to make sure that our leaders are strong leaders, and that they're consistent with their leadership, and that they help keep everybody on our mission. We got to stay mission focused. So that's a big thing. And making sure that we continue to work on our team chemistry. Like I said, we've got the pieces. We've just got to make sure we come together as a team and compete as a cohesive unit. So that's a key. And then in the circle, Sydney Nestor's got to stay healthy. We got to keep her throwing in the circle, because she's a phenomenal pitcher, a phenomenal competitor. She's fierce in the circle, and if we can keep her healthy, and keep our staff around her healthy, we're gonna have a good year. I'm excited about it.
Well, I look forward to it. I know a lot of the Marshall alums and fans look forward to it. Another season around the corner, Coach. Thanks so much for taking the time. I know it's a busy schedule for you and a busy time, but appreciate you coming on, especially talking about the big news. Obviously, the school moving to the Sun Belt Conference and what it means for your program. Thanks again for doing this, and we'll definitely we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks, Eric.